Hi guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video. I'm Jay Theo, and if you are new here, welcome. And if you're not new, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day, a good week, a good all the things. And we're just gonna go ahead and dive right on into this video. So if you saw by the title, this video definitely will be briefly talking about Lil Nas X and everything that just recently happened. But for the most part, this will be a video about failure, shame, and how that manifests in our Black community, more specifically in our Black LGBTQ community, and how that really can have adverse effects to us internally, how we operate. So as we all know, Lil Nas X was arrested over the weekend in LA. He eventually received a misdemeanor charge for battery to a police officer, I believe. And the latest updates that I read is that he's out of the hospital for the alleged overdose, but he remains in jail for the weekend and will face a judge next week. I feel like this whole situation really leads to a greater conversation about failure, shame, and how that can build up in someone and cause really scary things to happen. And I say that as someone who's dealt with failure before, who is someone who's had to really overcome and build a different thought process in his mind when it comes to failure, when it comes to shame. And being someone who is Black and gay as well, and just knowing the pressures we have as not only Black specifically, but as Black and gay, we have the expectation the same as a Black person, but then we have also all these stigmas that we have to like cater to within our society. And I know Lil Nas X, with being gay and the outfits and the stunts and the making out on stage and all these type of things that the Black community will come so hard at him for, I know that has affected him. Because at the end of the day, the Black community is still his community. So when he has to fight so hard against that community, on top of just trying to make music, trying to literally make people dance, trying to help people vibe, I know that has to be hard. And then dealing with internalized homophobia. I'm sure he had to deal with all of that when he's like planning his outfits and what he's gonna wear and nails and things like that. And then also dealing with just the racism within the LGBTQ experience, and the homophobia from the Black people. And then also, I'm someone who has critiqued Lil Nas X, just the critiquing he gets from his gay Black peers and counterparts. At the end of the day, I do think there's a distance between critiquing and bullying, and I feel like people have stepped it up a notch to Wild Town now, where bullying is the new critiquing. Because some of the things I saw people saying about him was just disgusting. But I've liked albums. I've liked some of his songs. I haven't liked some of his songs. I like some of his stunts. I did like some of his stunts. I like some outfits. I haven't liked outfits. So I've always been like, he's cool. I like that he's a Black gay artist in our time. He's a cutie. He has good songs. It's never been hate. But I feel like some people genuinely have hate towards him and nastiness towards him, and that's going to affect how he shows up in the world. And I think we're seeing right now what's happening to him as self-sabotage, as him trying to cope through the fact that he feels where he is in his career is not where he should be. He's mentioned it in a video over 6 months ago that's like popping up, where he basically states like the last few years are really hard for him. He just really wants to have fun again, and he felt like he was just so focused on trying to make the songs great. And I'll play the clip.
I don't want you guys to feel like I'm being flaky and very, very all over the place, but I was for a long time, you know? These last few years were pretty difficult for me. They have been pretty difficult for me, and I'm just now like arriving to this place of feeling confidence in myself and what I'm doing, and I'm trying to make sure I put intention towards my music and my vision and the creativity of it all. And most of all, I really want to make sure I have fun this time around. I don't think I got to have as much fun during the Montero era because I was more overly focused on, I don't know, making sure the songs did well than making sure I was like having fun doing, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I didn't have any fun. I had some fun, okay? But I want this time around to be even more fun, and I want to be like even more full of joy, and I want to be even more full of love, and I want to go out here in this world, and I want to wave my hands in the sky and move about freely.
But yeah, you see there, he's showcasing how the past few years were hard for him because he felt like he wasn't coming to the table as an artist for the expectation. And I think what happens when you're an artist like him, and I think Cardi B kind of goes through the same thing, but she's a bit more successful. But I feel like when you get Grammys at the beginning, when you get those big like awards or trophies or accolades at the start of your career, I feel like now you have to keep living up to that. Now you have this expectation you have to live up to. And now it's an internal expectation. It's an external expectation. And then also just us as Black people, we always feel like we have to be the best to get the minimum. We have to be the Grammy Award winning artist to be seen as a real artist in the music industry. We have to win all these awards. We have to have a #1 on the chart to be slated as an amazing artist over the years. Like, I feel like that's what a Black artist, I know that's what they feel if they really are getting into that industry, because that's how I feel just doing a regular job. That's how I feel with anything that I do. I feel like that I have to be above and better, and I have to just overachieve, and I have to be A+ student at everything I do, or I feel like I'm still not great at it. And that's something that over time, trust me, I worked in therapy, and that's something I continuously work through, because at the end of the day, I did have to start shaping my failure and start shaping my shortcomings as opportunities, as learnings, and as redirection. And I think that's the biggest thing I want to focus on with this video, is letting Black people know that we don't have to keep looking at failure the same, and we don't have to keep treating it the same, because failure and shame, and then when these things start to manifest and become the dark cloud that they are, they can become very dangerous. They can really lead to dangerous things. And like we said, the self-sabotage, that leads to substance abuse, that leads to self-harm, that leads to suicide. These are things that become the norm, and they're more of a silent response to failure. I'm just gonna let myself go. I'm going to self-sabotage. I'm going to spend all my money. I'm going to just do all these drugs. These are responses people have when they feel like they're at their wit's end. And the thing with failure that I think is really sad is a lot of people cope with failure by themselves internally. They feel like they're not good at something. They keep it to themselves. They don't share it because they're scared of the shame and the guilt that they may have because they share it. But I think that's the problem. I think us sharing our failures, us sharing our shortcomings, us being open to being vulnerable, us building those muscles will help us actually address, is it a failure? Is it shame? Should I give myself grace? I feel like when you have those conversations, when you talk through things, then you can actually understand what is actually happening. But if you are dealing with this on your own, you're feeling like you failure on your own, and you're measuring to yourself to some ambiguous measure because you're doing it on your own, then of course you are going to become depressed. You're going to be sad. You're going to self-sabotage. And I think that's why just support systems are so important, and checking in on each other is so important, especially as Black and brown people, because I feel like nobody is ever concerned about us. I think the idea that we're this resilient, Black people are resilient, they're always going to power through, I think those type of ideologies actually harm us a lot more at times, because we don't know when to ask for help. We don't know when to say, you know what, I am really affected by this. I feel a failure at this, and I really feel like it's taking a toll on me. Like, I feel like we as people need to be more open to doing that. We need to be able to be more open to discussing our shortcomings. And I feel like you discussing your shortcoming will not allow another person to discuss theirs. I feel like one thing that I feel like I've always tried to get better at being okay with talking about is my finances. Like, I feel like over the years, my finances have always been something that I've struggled with. And, I make decent money. I've always had decent, graduate college, always had a job after college, lived in big cities, whatever. But I've always lived in big cities, which are expensive. But I feel like I was playing catch up with my money. But I feel like I told myself that money is something I was gonna be more comfortable talking to people with, because I feel like we're all going through it with finances. And you never know how someone can help you. I've gotten financial advice from friends, just telling them about issues that I had. And it was some of the best advice I ever gotten. So I feel like you never know what nugget or what wisdom you could get by sharing your vulnerabilities and by sharing your shortcomings. And ultimately, like I said, failures don't always need to be failures. They could be redirections. Because if this doesn't work out, that creates the opportunity for something else. And that's one thing that I really had to learn. And that's one thing I'm even learning through just like my career choices and things, is that just because something that wasn't the route for you, don't mean that this can't be the route. And sometimes you need to be forced to pivot. You need to be forced to make a change. You need to be forced to reconsider something else. And I feel like that's sometimes where failure comes into play, where it's like, this was not meant for you, or you're wasting all this energy on this, but you could be using so much more energy on this. I think that's how we need to look at success. I think that's how we need to look at failure. I think that's how we need to look at shame and guilt a little bit more deeper and a little bit more universal, and look at them as more like, that may be the word, but that's not what it means. You know what I'm saying? Like, failure may be the word, but you didn't fail. Shortcoming, maybe you may have a shortcoming, but that doesn't mean that you as a person are someone who's a shortcoming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we need to like redirect it, that these words are used for that static thing that's happening, but that doesn't mean that's a real reflection of you. There's so many stories of people where I got fired from this job, or I I thought I was good at this sport, and then I did this. Like we hear all the stories of people pivot because something else didn't work out. And I think if we were more okay with talking about the things that don't work out, then I feel like we would benefit a lot more from each other, and we'd be more open to trying new things and expanding. Because at the end of the day, I feel like the people in life where that outside validation doesn't hit them as hard, where they can just maneuver through the world, and if they fail, ooh, okay, keep it moving. If they fail, oh, whatever. The people that don't seek the outside validation don't need somebody to tell them that they did a good job, that need somebody to keep reminding them that they're a success. Those people that are vulnerable and okay with mistakes and okay with mishaps, I feel like they are the people that tend to be able to kind of just move forward and hit the goals they want because they're not affected so much by this outside noise. And I'm not saying that's easy. As a celebrity for Lil Nas X, I can imagine that. As someone who does content and stuff, the comments I get sometimes, I really have to like delete the comment or just be like, I'm just gonna ignore it because people can be really nasty and really mean. So I can only imagine when you're up at that level, how that affects you. And I hope Lil Nas X grows through this, but I feel like he kind of doesn't need to be pressed about the critiques. Like, make the music you want to make, and at the end of the day, at the core, if making fun music is what you want to do, and if you weren't having fun before, because my whole goal is if you're not even having fun making the music, then why are you making music? And this is not to shade him. This is just what I'm saying. Like, I feel like if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then why are you doing it? Or if you're not enjoying the way that you're doing it now, then this is not the way you need to do it. So I feel like at the end of the day, you should still be getting joy out of it. And we can critique and we can talk about album sales and all this stuff all the time. But at the end of the day, every artist has a song that doesn't slap, that has an album that doesn't rock. That is a part of the industry. But I also feel like if he can get to a place where he allows it to be kind of like this is just is what it is. I'm gonna put out the music, I'm gonna put out the vibes. I feel like he can get to that place where he can have some peace in his life. And I'm not saying it's easy to get to, but I know for me, even with content, I've gotten to a point now where I'm just gonna post. If 5 people watch it, if 200 people watch it, if 1,000 people watch it, I'm just gonna post, because if I keep being worried about, oh, this didn't pop, this didn't hit, I'm never gonna make it. I'm never gonna get where I want to. I'm sure Beyonce has so many songs that we have never heard that got cut because she was like, absolutely not, or they were like, absolutely not, no. She probably had presented it to her team and they probably were like, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's so many people that probably have so many failures we've never even seen. So yeah, for Black people, I just want us to be able to have that grace, to have that freedom for ourselves, because I don't think self-sabotage and self-harm is what we need. I think we need to be more open and vulnerable to be able to talk about failure. It happens. It should be okay. It should allow us to pivot. It should really be seen as a gift to now see what can you use that time or that capacity for. But also, I mean, we're also allowed to mourn things. If you feel like you failed at something or something, you didn't achieve something, you're allowed to mourn it. You're allowed to have those feelings. You're allowed to be human. I'm not taking that away from anybody. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to have all those feelings. But I think that we need to allow ourselves to have the feelings, feel the feelings, but then redirect eventually, and don't let it harp and hinder you. And I've been somebody who's done that before, where I will harp and I will stay stuck on something that is, at the end of the day, it didn't work out, or it's not helping you, it's not working. Like, what is that doing? What is that doing for you? Again, please reach out to your friends, your family members, like the community. Please check in on people. You never know what could be eating them alive, what could be driving them to self-sabotage or to isolate themselves. Like reach out, be that person to check in, and sometimes that's what it needs. I know when I was going through it out here, when I first moved out here, and still have my moments, but my friends kept calling, checking in, just want to check in, see how you're doing, like checking in, just making sure you're good. So just sometimes those check-ins, it just reminds you, people care about me. People really want to know what's going on with me. You know what I'm saying? Just those little things sometimes can be that little boost that makes you forget about the failure. It makes you kind of like get out of it for a minute. So I definitely think there's just power in community. There's power in being open and vulnerable. There's power in sharing failures and sharing things that you may feel where you are not your best. I think that we should be here to support each other. And I feel like with a Black artist, I feel like we should be here to support Lil Nas X. I feel like we should be here to make sure that he's good. And especially as Black gay men and Black LGBTQ people, we should be doing that. So it saddens me that some people's thought was to quick to just be nasty and disgusting towards him. And it really makes me wonder how high some of the numbers are when it comes to like LGBTQ youth suicide ideation and the number of suicide attempts that happen. I think it's 44% of Black LGBTQ youth have suicidal ideations and 16% attempted in the last year. Things like that, it makes me wonder, because it's like, how is all this manifesting? It's not in a vacuum. Like, there is a culture, there's a society that pushes and shames so many people and pushes and shames so many things. And then people wonder why people, for lack of a better word, show up dead. And I don't wish that on anybody, and I don't wish that on Lil Nas X. I really hope he gets the help he deserves. And I'm not trying to like reach here, but at the end of the day, we see how this happens with celebrities, where something will happen like this, and then it'll start going downhill. So I just want to bring this conversation to light, because I feel like if we can get more people aware about how failure affects us and how it can manifest, I think we can start seeing the signs a bit earlier when things start shifting for someone, and how we can assert ourselves to help and assist. And honestly, I will say, the one good thing about the situation with Lil Nas X is now he can get some help. People know he needs help. Whereas if this was some incident where he was isolated somewhere, we would never know, and he keeps doing it, you know what I'm saying? It could just become this horrible thing. And I think just like we need self-sabotage. Like, we've all been there where we're just kind of like, oh, I know I should go to the gym. I'm just going to keep eating bad. I don't care. I'm going to keep eating bad. I don't care. Or I know I need to get that report done, but I'm just not going to do it. I don't care what happens. Like, I feel like we've all been in those spaces where we're just like, I don't care. I'm going to self-sabotage. And then I am a failure. And then they're right. So to wrap this up, I encourage all of you to share your thoughts about failure, shame, guilt, self-sabotage, dealing with that, especially if you are Black and LGBTQ. I'd love to hear from you, but I'd love to hear from everyone. And how have you grown to be more vulnerable? How are you still working through those things? I think, though, like I said, the more we talk about it, the more we have these conversations, the more we can assist and help each other. So I would definitely love to hear from you guys in the comments. And I know for me, some huge things that help a lot. Therapy, for one. If you can afford therapy, have the privilege of therapy, do it. Being able to talk to somebody and just have that non-biased aspect is just amazing. But I will say, y'all, journaling, I love journaling. Putting that pen to paper, putting your thoughts to paper, it just adds this level of tangibility to your thought, but then even it adds this element of like intensity to your thought, where sometimes you're like, ooh, see that written down, it's like, do you really think that, Jay? So when you actually write things down, it just brings this level of tangibility, this level of intensity that I think is very valuable. So I encourage more people to journal. And like I said, it really talking to people, talking to friends, voicing things about you. Be a little bit more selfish about talking about yourself at times and getting some things out when you need to. Now, I know everybody doesn't want somebody to vent to them all the time, but sometimes I feel like we don't even think we talk as much about a problem that we think we do. And I feel like if someone sees it as a problem for us, maybe they can really be that person to help. So everyone, I hope you found this insightful. I know it was a little deep, it was a little heavy, but I really enjoyed having this conversation. I think we need to have more of these conversations. So as always, I hope you guys stay safe, stay positive, and I will see you guys on the next video.